We can always edit out all the front stuff.
What front stuff?
Like the beginning of the video of us just setting everything up.
Oh, I just took a separate video. So now this
Okay.
now this is the beginning of the video that you're gonna have to edit out. This whole conversation. But you don't have to edit it out if you don't want to, but it'd be kind of weird with it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be funny. We'll send this to Allison because this is the first discussion video. It's recording, right?
Yeah, and let's not make it too long because, you want to be able to post it.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so let's get to brass tacks.
Alright.
Okay. Alright, Joseph,
Yes.
welcome to Fortis Fundamentum.
I like that. What does that mean?
Means strong foundation, where we talk about foundational truths, foundations of life, important stuff.
Okay.
All right, so the question we have for you today: what is it to be humble? What does that mean to you?
Well,
As a personality trait, what is it to be humble?
oh, that's difficult.
Yes, that is the point, isn't it?
I feel like,
Fundamentally.
fundamentally, what does it mean? I would say, humility. It's kind of complex. I mean, I don't know. Anywho.
You're good, you got time. I can wait forever. Yeah.
So humility, and I might be wrong. Humility is, it's like, it's like a constant self-denial, I guess. Does that make sense? Is that a good definition or no?
I mean, this is about your definition. I'm not gonna judge you too much. Maybe a little.
Maybe a little.
So
Okay.
that sounds more like self-discipline. So are you saying humility is akin to self-discipline? Self-denial? Well, how are you using the term self-denial in that context?
I'm using self-denial in a kind of denying, I guess your pride, denying your denying yourself, denying your old character, I guess, what your character would have been. Basically, just saying, no, I don't think I'll have the same twisted character anymore. That kind of self-denial. Does that make sense?
You're gonna have to explain a little bit more. Okay, so humility is self-denial, but so if I could be more specific, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
In what way is humility self-denial? I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm curious, how does that play out? Like, what am I denying about myself that makes me humble?
Your wants, I guess. That's one big thing. Denying your wants, denying what you think you need, and instead accepting whatever God has in store for you, which is what you actually need. So, and then also denying your knowledge, denying what you think you know, and just accepting what is. So it's like you're denying the idea that you even had a chance of accomplishing anything good on your own, I guess. When you deny that, it's a little bit humiliating, I guess, you know.
I'm trying to follow you. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's okay. That's why these questions are meant to be hard.
I'm pretty bad at being.
It's okay. It's
what do you
simply
call it?
hard to. So it's a form of self-denial. So let's kind of go back to that. So you're denying what? Your own. So you're denying your desires, meaning you don't deny their existence, but you just don't fulfill them?
I would say you replace them with the desires of God. And that is most of the time replacing them, because our desires are usually not at all aligned with God's desires, but sometimes our desires are.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, you're denying the fact that you have any say in what you need or want. You're instead accepting what God knows you need, and you're accepting that, and you're content with that, and you're ignoring that part of you're ignoring that voice in your head that's saying, no, you need this, no, you need that.
Right.
So it's like denying that, and I don't think that's all of humility, but I think that's a big part of it. Because once you realize that your inner dialogue is I guess unintelligent, just wrong, then that means that you're more than likely wrong about most of the stuff you think you need, which is I think it's like the start of humility. Because if you think that you know exactly what you need and you know exactly what you want, and what you think you want is what you actually want, what you think you need is what you actually need, if you believe that, then I'd say it's kind of difficult for you to be humble. I don't know. I never met anyone who was humble that believed that.
So, I'll try to like summarize it back to you, and you tell me if I'm wrong or
Yeah.
So it's actively acknowledging the preeminence of God's will over our own.
Yeah. That's a much more concise definition.
And we do that by consistently denying our own internal desires, drives, random thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and deferring to God, and I guess in His Word in
Yeah.
this case.
I think that although that isn't the exact definition of humility, I think that's like what people should strive for when they try to be humble. I feel like that's like pure humility. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because just like most other terms, there's like the good humility, and then there's like the kind of like bad humility. It might be the same in action, but like the reasons behind it are different. Like you might just be trying to act humble so people think you're interesting.
So false humility.
Yeah, exactly. So like still technically you're being humble per se by other people's definition.
Right. But in reality, it's arrogance.
Exactly.
And self-centeredness.
Yeah. So if you have the right reasons to start, which I'd say is self-denial, that's the right reason, then humility will kind of follow. I don't know if they're exactly, the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that true humility starts with self-denial.
I like that. It's internal
Yeah.
more than anything, and then the outward can flow from the internal humility. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
It was strange for me when you said self-denial, because I got a hard time. I had a hard time getting past that, but it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I think it's just because we've used self-denial in different ways. I've always used it in a just I don't know, like when someone like donates all their money to the church,
Mm-hmm.
like that's crazy for some people to comprehend, but it's like if you look at that as self-denial, like that's they internally denied themselves, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it was easy for them to give up everything they had because that wasn't that important to them. Like if they hadn't have denied themselves initially, and they were just giving money to impress people or something,
They'd still be serving themselves instead of serving God.
exactly.
So it's that.
You have to. I guess you have to have that humility when you serve. Now, we're kind of going off topic, but humility is a huge part of service, I guess. And service is important in its own regard.
So it's the right internal motivator of service, you could say.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a ton of other good motivators,
Mm.
but humility's I would say it's a really good motivator. I mean, if you see people, a lot of people who do service are humble,
Mm-hmm.
and they understand that. I don't know, like Red Cross or something, when they're going to help people that are like evacuating from like a burning city or something. They're not like, most of them aren't like, hey, look at me, I'm saving people. You know, they just understand that these people are having a hard time and they're helping them out. You know, it may not be like a biblical humility, but they're still being humble, I would say, from a worldly perspective, I guess.
Mm.
So humility isn't just important in just the is Christendom a good word in this case?
You could use it in the Christian context.
Exactly. But it's also important just if you want to have a cohesive society, I guess.
It's a good point. It's a really good point. And I guess you could even have. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we could talk about this all night, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, this is our first interview, so we have to wrap it up. But thank you for coming in, sir.
My pleasure.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
I said my pleasure. Look at that.